Welcome to the Educating Kids and Connecting Families podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to provide your family with encouragement, inspiration, and connection. I'll equip you with resources and expert advice to help you effectively educate your kids in a fun and meaningful way. If you value education, quality family moments, and community, you're in the right spot. We'll discuss all things parenthood, education, homeschool, ways to balance it all, and so much more. Join us each week as we empower you to raise kind, confident, and independent kids while building community and connection. Welcome to episode 49 of Educating Kids and Connecting Families. I'm your host, Christine Furman. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We are going to discuss a topic that I think will be pretty helpful this time of year as well as throughout the year. Do you ever feel like there's so much stuff in your house? Everywhere you look, there's another pile to clean, to organize, to declutter. Or maybe it's just a pile of things everywhere. Ever get overwhelmed by all of those things in your house? And here we are entering this season where more things are going to come into our house. Whether we like it or not, we can ask for experience-based gifts, but there's probably still going to be some gifts that come into our space. And what do we do with it? What do we do with all of the things that are already in our home? What do we do with the things that are coming in, and how do we make space for it all? Well, I would love your thoughts in the Educating Kids, Connecting Families Facebook group. And I want to talk about what are the things that are cluttering up your area. Do you feel overwhelmed by this? Do you feel like we have too many things? And we're going to chat about ways that we can start to declutter and rid ourselves from all of these things. And then it's going to help free us up mentally in not only our mental space, but also in our physical space, maybe even digitally. So let's dive in today and talk more about this. And I'm going to share with you a special challenge. So a few years ago, my friend was having her annual declutter challenge on social media. And I loved it so much. I was all in and I was like, this is awesome. So this year, we are joining forces with two other ladies. So there's four of us all together. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit about this declutter challenge and to invite you to join us because it's going to be such a freeing exercise or freeing challenge where we get rid of things in our home, in our space, mentally, physically, digitally, and it just frees us up in many different ways. So I'm excited to share this with you, and I'm going to share a little bit more information about each of the ladies and a tip from them. So stay tuned for that. But first, I want to invite you to the Minimalist Game Releasing Life Clutter to Allow Deeper Fulfillment Facebook group. Okay. And I will link that here in the show notes as well. And what you're going to do is you're going to join in that group, and every day we are going to post one post, and it's like on day one, you're going to get rid of one item. That's all you have to do. It's a very easy challenge to kind of get into because it's like, oh my gosh, ever have that feeling of like overwhelm, right? When you go to declutter something, or, oh my goodness, I look in this closet and I think, oh, this closet is just jam-packed with whatever it is. The closet I'm thinking of right now is like my linen closet, or I have a party supply closet, and they're just full. And they just need to be reorganized. And most of this stuff probably can just be donated or given to someone else. But one, I don't have the time to sit there and go through it, or I close that door and I forget about it. And this game that we're going to play, the Minimalist Game, decluttering things, allows us to just take little baby bites on our decluttering journey. But I do have to warn you, it does get addictive. And on day one, you might get rid of one item and say, oh, you know what? This pair of shoes, I haven't worn them in a while. They ripped here or they're scuffed here, whatever it is. I'm just going to get rid of this one pair of shoes. But then you start looking at all of the other shoes in your closet and you're like, you know what? I haven't worn those shoes, right? Since college. Are they still serving me now? Or are they just taking up space? And can you see how this starts to get very addictive, right? Because I got rid of one pair of shoes on day one, but you know what? That opened up the opportunity for me to look at all of the other shoes that I have to say, I need to get rid of these. And now on day one, instead of just one item, I could have gotten rid of 10. That's a true story. I probably got rid of at least 10 pairs of shoes at one time because I did, in fact, have all of my heels and all of these shoes that I wore pre-kid and, in college and when I was teaching. And now, while I still enjoy wearing my heels, most of the time I'm actually at home and those aren't needed anymore. I don't need them, or I've worn them out and I really just need to release them because they're just causing clutter in my life and in my space in my closet. Now, the trick is not to buy 10 more new pairs of shoes to replace those, but that's a topic for another day. So then we talk about, day one, we get rid of one item. Day two, we get rid of two items or as many as you want. I know for me, when I did this game the first time, I opened up my bathroom closets and my cupboards, right? So I was in there just getting ready for the day one day. And I was like, oh, you know what? Because here's the other thing, guys. It's in your brain then, like this decluttering bug, if you will, of like, oh, I could start. What can I get rid of? Right. So while I was getting ready one morning, I open my drawer and I say, you know what? I don't use any of these things, or this makeup is all old. Why do I still have it? And I was able to fill a trash can right there in my bathroom by opening just a few cupboards. And that to me is just so freeing to say, I don't need this anymore. I need to release this. And whether that's donating it or gifting it to someone or just throwing it away. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about, where in our home are areas that kind of collect this clutter, right? Is it your bathroom where you get makeup samples and you just throw them all in there and say, "Oh, I'll try that out one day," but you never do? I have that. I have some right now that I'm like, you know what? Why do I keep these? It's a good idea and I would like to try it, but I don't think I will. So either donating some things that are unopened or just trashing them and just letting it go. Because now you are not seeing all of this clutter in your bathroom. Your eyes are now opened and it's more clear, and that's going to help make that clarity of your brain as well. So think about these areas in your home. What needs to be decluttered? Is it the shoe closet? Maybe the kids' rooms? Maybe you're a homeschooling mom and you're like, oh, we've got lots of homeschooling stuff that needs decluttered. Or papers, magazines, mail. All right, so here's my process of how I declutter. And let me tell you a story real quick. So we are just wrapping up a season of September 14th, our laundry room flooded. And I shared that story with you a few episodes back. And that opened up a whole can of worms of our house was kind of in chaos pretty much since then. So we're now the beginning of December. And since the middle of September, our home has really been in chaos because we had the laundry room flooding, which meant floors had to come up, closets had to be emptied. My daughter's room's carpet had to come up, laundry room needed redone, the garage needed things moved out in there. So we had to take care of that situation. So a lot of things from Ella's room moved into my bedroom. A lot of things from the laundry room moved into my bedroom. And that was causing just clutter everywhere, right? Because it was like, there's stuff that doesn't belong here. And then as we're just ready to wrap up the laundry room project, Hurricane Helene hits and more chaos ensues. So with that project, then it led to different things needing done. So our kitchen needed to be fixed. There was water damage in there, our fence outside, stuff in the garage, we're painting. So at this point, then the carpets in the kids' rooms. All right, well, Ella's carpet was flooded in the laundry room debacle. So let's just get new carpet for both of the kids' rooms. So not only are we, dealing with laundry room, now we're getting new carpet, outside work is being done, painting is being done, all of this stuff. So we end up starting some house projects that we probably wouldn't have started unless we got, a little nudge here. So what happened was Dan painted both of the kids' rooms and we're getting new carpet. And I was like, you know what? The easiest thing is just take all of your things out of your rooms, because that's how they were going to put the carpet in. They were just going to take all the furniture out and just lay the carpet in. I said, all right, put all of your things in the little suite area in our bedroom. Oh my goodness, guys, it was full of stuff, just full of stuff. So many things I didn't even know my kids had in their rooms, not anything bad, but it was like, oh my gosh, I forgot that you had a sewing kit, or I forgot that you had all of these toys, and it was full. So again, here's the chaos, right? My house is kind of in disarray. I have stuff here. I have stuff there. I said, all right, that's it. We need to organize. It's not just going to go back the way it was into their rooms. We need to organize these things. So I have them pull out all of their toys all throughout my bedroom floor. It's everywhere. And I said, okay, one thing at a time. We're going to go through what we have and what we need to get rid of and what we need to just throw away and what is going back into your room and where is it going to go. So for me, it's all about finding that place for it. Once it has a space, I feel so much better. Like, okay, this has a space. We're good. We're releasing that and decluttering. And so this is what happens. So we have the whole room in my bedroom full, and the kids start taking their things and we start deciding, well, here's our trash pile. So here are the 3 piles that I make. Okay. When I start to clean up, organize, and declutter, because they're all separate things, right? We're going to clean up something and we can just pick up our toys. We can organize things and we can put them where they belong. And then we can declutter things where we're getting rid of it all. So it is actually 3 different steps here. And what I do is I make 3 different piles. So when I'm in the one room, so I was focused in my bedroom at that time, only focusing on the kids' toys, okay, or things in the room. And I said, here's our trash pile. Here's our donate pile. And here's something that needs to go in another room, whether that was in each of their rooms, or maybe it wasn't even supposed to be in there. I found ice packs in their rooms or things that needed to be downstairs or in the car. And so then we're making these piles. So it kind of helps free up this space of like, you don't have to keep running in different directions while you're organizing, right? And while you're decluttering, you're just making a pile. So in our hallway, that was our declutter pile. That is going to go down to the guest bedroom and we're going to get rid of that. And here's the trash pile. On trash day, we're going to take that outside. And, each of these things, take them in your rooms, and then we're going to find the right space for them. So we did that. It took us a whole day on a Sunday. And by the end of the evening, we were just all spent. And I said, okay, we'll just reconvene tomorrow morning, because sometimes it is so exhausting. Sometimes it's a bigger project than we realize. And we may have to break it up into little chunks, which is why I love so much the declutter challenge that we do, because it really is bite-sized pieces. Like, what's one item you can get rid of? For me, we were clearly on day 30, I don't know, getting rid of all of the things. The challenge only goes up to 22, but you can see where I was at, where we were at a bigger project and we had to take a break. And it was so good because when we reconvened in the morning, we just had more energy and we had a clearer space to say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to tackle this project. And I think that is another part when it comes to decluttering is giving yourself the time and the mental capacity too, because there are different times that you're going to feel more able to do this job and this task of able to get rid of things and look at it and say, yep, I am in a decluttering mode. I'm ready to get rid of it all. And ladies, I talk about this often, but tracking our cycle and syncing things like this with our cycle, you'll see it. You will start to see patterns of like, oh, this phase of my cycle, that's when I want to start decluttering. That's when I feel the clarity and the mental capacity of like, yep, it's time to go, get it out. I don't want it to be in here. It's kind of like that nesting feeling when you're pregnant. It's like, nope, none of this stuff. I want it gone. I want it cleaned up. I want it cleared out. It's kind of that feeling. So we get to this project. The kids each take their things into their room. I help them put them in their closet, organize them. We get rid of bins because I was like, now you don't have as much stuff because we got rid of things. You don't need this anymore. And also, I include them in this process. Now, sure, there are some things and some times when, they're like, nope, I'm not getting rid of this. I want to keep this. And you're like, why are we keeping this? Why are we hanging on to this? So sometimes there may be things that, we just need to kind of get rid of. But I've always included my kids in the process. And it allows them to release it themselves too and not feel attached to their things. And sometimes they are. There was one time that I was decluttering Alex's room, and his room is the one I declutter the most because Ella has really gotten into this phase of like she is organizing and she even wants to start her own organizing business. Guys, this is so cute. She even made a little flyer on my Canva and she's like, Mom, when are you going to put that in the Facebook group so I can start organizing people's houses and start making some money? And I was like, all right, little entrepreneur, like, let's keep moving, let's do it, But also, guys, here's the thing. I can't just send my daughter, even if they're neighbors, into someone's home to declutter without me. So it's kind of like a two-person job here. But I love her ambition. I love her desire to, what's next? What can I do next? And so stay tuned for that because I see Ella's little organizing business, turning into something pretty cool. So I was organizing Alex's toys and things, and he had a ton of Paw Patrol. And there was a couple times we started clearing it out and we would get rid of a few things, maybe things that had broken or weren't working correctly. But overall, he was like, I'm not ready to get rid of these yet. I'm not ready. Even though he didn't play with them all the time, he was just like, I'm just not ready. And I said, okay, it has a space in your closet. I can close the door and I don't see it. And if you do still enjoy playing with that, that's fine. Like, let it stay. So eventually, maybe 6 months to a year later, he was finally to that point of like, yep, it's time for me to let this go. And to me, that is just so, I don't know, I feel proud of them when I see them do that, where it's like they're getting rid of the things on their own. And sometimes they need a little nudge, like, are you sure you want to keep this? You really don't play with this anymore. And sometimes it's just, you know what, we just got to get rid of it. But allowing them to be a part of it. And of course, every situation's different. Every family is different. That is what has worked for us. But every situation is different. Now, trust me, there are some little trinkets that I'm like, why do we have this? But again, out of sight, out of mind. If it fits in your drawer, that's fine. If I find it throughout the house multiple times, it may be going in the trash. It's one of those things. But just keep in mind, just invite them in with you into the process with you. And maybe you do most of the process and you invite them in kind of at the last minute and say, hey, here are 5 different things that I've seen in your room that I think are taking up too much space, that you don't play with, that I think you kind of outgrew. And then also telling them the benefit of it. One, you'll probably get something new for your birthday, for the holiday, or you can save your money up for something bigger that you want to get. And 2, By passing this along, you are going to help some little kid that doesn't have a toy. And you are going to give them the gift of all of this fun that you've already had with this toy and really teaching them that concept of like, it's okay to let it go and teaching them that abundance mindset that if we let this go, there's going to be something else and there's more for you. It doesn't mean that it's just gone forever. Well, I mean, the item would be gone forever, but allowing them to let something go so something else can come into their life. And that can go for everything. That can go for us as adults mentally, you know, is like, let's let this go so then we can free up space for something new. So that's kind of what we do. We have this process of the 3 piles. And then when we're done with those 3 piles, if there was something that didn't belong in that room, or like for the kids, like it didn't belong in their room, now it's outside. Now I just take it and drop it off in the right rooms. And you could use laundry baskets for this, so then that way you have something to carry. And then that way you either go to the next space in the next room or you take a break. For us that Sunday, it was like, I need a break. We're done. I can't move on with this. So on Monday morning, we finished it. And then Tuesday, my room in here, my workroom and the schoolroom, it was full of fall decorations and it was full of just things that needed to come in here. So again, we had to take some time to organize and declutter and say, what can we get rid of and what needs to go in its right place? Then just recognizing that, is it time for a break or is it time to keep moving on to the next space? So here's some areas that you can start to declutter or think about decluttering that maybe you wouldn't think about. Your refrigerator. Think about all the sauces and things in your refrigerator. Now, maybe you do this every day before trash day. So I typically do that every day before trash day, go through any leftovers food or things that are in there that I'm like, we're done with this, or the vegetables that went bad or whatever it may be. But the other thing would be our sauces. Looking at our sauces, have we used this? Is it expired? Do we need it? Is it taking up space where I'm trying to shove something else in there, or can I get rid of that? So that's one area that you might not think about. We talked about the bathrooms already, but thinking about that, thinking about all of the extra things that we have at the bottom of our sink or maybe our linen closet with all the towels. Are there towels that we can get rid of? And are there, soaps or shampoos that we used them, we didn't like them, we either need to let them go by throwing them away or putting them out in your Facebook group if your neighborhood has a Facebook group and say, hey, I used these, I didn't like them, they didn't work well with my hair or my skin or whatever it may be. Could anyone use them? So I feel a little bit better about that, like saying like I can pass it along to someone else and then I'm not wasting it, but sometimes you just throw it away. Closets, lots of different closets. Your coat closet, shoe closet, the laundry room closet, linen closet, party supply or paper supply closet, the clothes. Clothes are a big one. And I kind of talked about this a little bit with the shoes, where it's like, is this an outfit or some clothes that you're keeping that was pre-baby? And you're like, I'm going to fit back into those pants. Well, your body probably changed since you had a child. And it's time to release some and get new clothes. And it's not about fitting back into it, but it's about how do we feel and feeling confident in what we have. And if that doesn't make you feel confident and trying to get back into it, just release it and see the abundance come in. See the new clothes that are going to come in that make you feel amazing. And, it doesn't have to be pre-baby weight. So that's one of the things. The other thing about clothes that someone had shared with me was like the energy your clothes have and hold, so it's kind of like, for me, I had all of these teaching outfits. I was a teacher. I worked in the classroom. So I had a lot of dresses. I had a lot of shoes that I had a ton of heels that I wore all the time, but I also had some flats. I also had, just some different outfits that it was like, I don't wear those anymore. There are some of them that were universal and I enjoyed them and I liked them, but sometimes it was an outfit that I was like, well, I can wear this to work, or I needed some flats for this occasion, but I didn't really like them or I didn't really want them. So it was just like, I can release that. I can let that go, pass it on to another person that it would be beneficial to them. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what do we do with all these items. So we talked about our toys for the kids, right? And then there's two other things I want to share about. What other things can we declutter? Papers, mail items, magazines. Sometimes we hold on to papers. I know I have a lot more papers than I want and definitely need to declutter. But sometimes it's like, oh, I can't get rid of that. So realizing and going through what can you get rid of? And now, we can take pictures of things and we can organize them digitally as well. That's another thing that leads into the digital decluttering as well, where decluttering our files on our computer, our pictures, text messages, apps. There's a lot of things, even digitally, that we can declutter and kind of free up space, not only, mentally that we don't see it anymore, but even our phone space, right? Our data and everything like that. And then we talked about a little bit too, our homeschool materials, whether that's crayons, markers, our supplies, or is it books, toys, games that we use with our kids at a younger age that it's like, oh, I don't want to let go of this, but I don't use it anymore and I need to let it go. So there are just some areas that you can declutter. And what do we do with them all then? So find some shelters that would actually give them to people that would benefit from the items. So finding places, and again, you can search in your local Facebook group. You can send text messages to friends and say, hey, where do you donate your things? And where is somewhere that is going to benefit someone else directly from me passing this along? Churches, I know for our church personally, they have a dream center and there's a donation bin outside of our church where you put your clothes, shoes, different things like I have sheets, things like that. But you can put them in there and they have this entire dream center area that serves the community and allows them to come in and shop for whatever they want. Of course, no charge. It allows them to pick and choose what clothes they need, what shoes they need. So I love that for sure. Again, directly benefiting someone else at no cost to them. So that to me means a lot. Facebook groups, again, I've talked about this, your neighborhood Facebook group, or there are free groups too, like buy nothing groups where you can just post things in there and say, here, it's all free. And sometimes that's on my Facebook group in our neighborhood too. Like just put it out on the front porch and say, hey, this is all free. Come get what you want. And that has been really good, definitely, to benefit others in the neighborhood, in your community. Maybe even texting a friend. Maybe you have a small group of friends like homeschool moms, right? And saying like, hey, we just finished up this curriculum. Is there anyone that could use this before I sell it or before I pass it along to someone else? And, just a big curriculum swap. And this could go for books too. Even if you don't homeschool, as your kids grow out of the books or, continue to move on to the next level, taking pictures of them and saying, hey, who can use this level book, and passing those along. You could even do a yard sale. I've done this a couple times. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. So it's hit or miss. And then someone else recommended a Vietnam vet pickup. So you can schedule it. There's a link here and I'll share that below. It's pickupplease.org. And I've never personally used this, but I've seen a lot of people use this. And I think this is awesome where, it will benefit the local veterans in your area. So to kind of wrap up a little bit before I share about the lovely ladies I'm doing this challenge with, there was one impactful moment on my decluttering journey where when I was teaching vacation Bible school, we used the book throughout the whole week. And there was a lot of good ideas. Me as an educator, I'm like, oh, there's some good ideas in there. I want to soak them up. I want to be able to use these at another time. There was Bible stories in here, or how can I teach my kids about X, Y, and Z, And I almost kept this vacation Bible school book, but I was like, do I need this? Do I really need this? And one of my friends came over to me and she said, all right, listen, I heard this from someone before. And she said, it served its purpose and it's time to let it go. And I was like, whoa, that's good. It served its purpose being used for vacation Bible school specifically. And it's time to let it go. I don't need it anymore. And how many things in our homes, in our lives, can we relate that to? Can we, think of that and say, it served us. Why am I hanging on to this? I'll tell you my things that I'm hanging on to for a couple different reasons. One, some of my kids' childhood, and I hate to say childhood because they're only 10 and, almost 10 and 8, but from their toddler years, their toys. So I can't let go of their little kitchen yet. I have seen friends come to our house and that's always what they play with. And when I went to get rid of it one time, I started crying because I was like, I'm not ready to get rid of this memory yet. And I know that's not what this is about, but sometimes we have these items that it's like, I can't get rid of that. It just holds too much sentimental value. And, that's kind of the thing where we keep the things that are sentimental to us and we are able to release the things that maybe just take up too much space. So thinking about that too, because there are some things that I have that whether it's for a future plan, and I've gone back and forth with this myself, right? I have plans of having my own academy. And how cool would it be to have my kids' kitchen in that space or to have my kids' train table that I remember them playing at that train table in my space. And that is why I keep these things. But is it time to let it go? And when that time happens, I know this is something that Marta shared with me before. Let it go. And when the time is right, something else is going to come into your space that you need that's even better. And I think about that often for sure, because it's like, is it time to let these things go? And whenever it is time for Academy to open up, those things are going to come in. So there's my dilemma. There's my thing that's the struggle for me of like, what do I keep these things or do I let them go? So I would love to definitely know, what are some of those things that you need to let go of? And what are some of the things that you just can't let go of and you're holding on to? All right. So as we wrap up, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the hosts for the Minimalist Game Challenge this year. So Marta, she's the star of the show. She is the one that started this declutter challenge. That's what I did years ago with her. And she has transitioned into a financial position now where she is doing financial strategy. And her take is so amazing. And I didn't even think about this until I had this conversation with her. But financially, we put the burden of all of these expenses on ourselves, right? We provide our kids with everything that they could want. And sometimes we may have to put it on a credit card. Well, I can't afford that right now, but it's Christmas, but it's their birthday, or they're in these sports and I need to pay for whatever it is, fill in the blank. It could be a monthly sport. It could be a competitive sport. It could be private lessons, right? And we put all of this pressure on ourselves to make sure that our kids are getting the best, everything that they need, everything that they want. So her take on it is, don't put the pressure on yourself, on all the shoulds, on all the keeping up with the Joneses, right? Oh, well, their kids in soccer and now they're in travel soccer. So we need to do that too. Maybe your kid doesn't want to do it. Think about that too. Are you doing it to benefit your family? And in many ways for your family, right? That's time, that's financially, that's mental capacity of like, does my entire family enjoy this? And I know that's not always going to be the case, right? But what is the outcome of this? And financially, can we afford this? Time-wise, can we afford this? or make time for it, right? But also remembering that God has your back too and leaning in to allowing him to open up the doors for you. So, to learn more about Marta and to learn more about her story and how she is going to share more of this in a live video in our Facebook group, the Minimalist Game. So, remember, I'm going to share that in the notes below. But that is her take, that is her tips and tricks. So, there's a little snapshot there, but you're going to want to join us because, first of all, she's going to say it's so much better and she's going to have so much more information. All of these ladies actually are a wealth of information. So I am sharing a small tidbit of information from each of them. Oh, but they have so much to give. So be sure to join us in that group and catch their Facebook Lives. So Erica, I've actually had her on the show before, and Marta and Denise, I'm also going to talk about them. They're both going to be on the show at some point as well. But Erica was on the show and we talked about decluttering. We talked about her business. And what she shared today was thinking about, the holiday season right now where we're in and being mindful as we prepare for it. How easy is it for us to go to the store and look at decorations and think, oh, I need all of these things, whether it's new pillows or a new hand towel or new decorations. I need them. I love this and I need them. And she said, well, what is going to become declutter later? And I said, oh, that is good. Because it's so true. We get in this moment of like when we walk into the store and it's like that, shiny object syndrome, right? Of like, oh, I need this now. I want that. And do we need it though? We like it. It's exciting. It's shiny. It's new. And it would look awesome here, wherever the fill in the blank is. But do we need it? So that's something too, being mindful as we prepare for the holiday season, whether it's decor or even our kids' items, right? How often do we see something and we say, oh, they would love this. This would be so cool for them or this person, right? But again, it's more things. We are in this like consumer state of just buying. And it goes right back to that point where Marta was saying, like, can we afford it though? We're putting all this pressure on ourselves to buy things, but is it putting financial burden on ourselves? And then the other thing that Erica was mentioning was about the playroom. How often do you walk into your playroom and first of all, you're overwhelmed because there's so much stuff. You can't walk through it. There's no room. There's so many toys. Things are all out of, the bins and disorganized. And the kids are like, oh, I have nothing to do. I'm so bored. And I've said this many times, just to send our kids into the playroom and say, go play. There are a lot of things to do. And that is overwhelming and saying, well, what do I play with? But if we start organizing it and decluttering it and putting only things specifically in certain areas, now they know exactly what they're going to play with and they know exactly where it goes. And of course, we may have to go in there, every so often and clean it up and organize it a little bit again, but at least it's organized and has a rhythm and a system. So the other thing is thinking about Christmas and the experiences that we can give our kids. Can we gift experiences? And this is going to be a whole episode that I'm going to share with you is what are these holiday experiences that we can purchase instead of all of the stuff, all of the toys. And then thinking about too, like our expectations, right? Do we buy all of the things for our kids because we didn't have a lot of things as a kid? So we're making up for it because we can do that now? Or are we buying things because that's what my mom always did, right? Or my grandma always did this? Are we buying things because of something else? And what is it that we want our family to do? And what do we want the expectations for the holidays to be for our family? And yeah, of course, we can say, well, the kids expect this now because under the tree, it's always been full of gifts. But what if we start having those conversations with them prior to the holidays and say, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. We're decluttering. We're getting rid of this stuff. and we're going to focus on the things that are important. And that's important. We need to make those changes and talk to them because those expectations won't change unless we have those conversations. So there is, again, a little snapshot from Erica's perspective. But again, you guys are going to want to get into that Facebook group and hear it from them specifically. So Denise, she is a life coach and she has a different take on it where it's not necessarily about the stuff, but it's about the mental barriers, the mental clutter, then releasing those things to have that clarity. And, how often are we thinking about what we're thinking about? Just continuing down the same path and being stuck and continuing with that negativity or that overwhelm and any inaction that can creep in where, it's like, well, I want something different. So it's basically like rewiring, it's decluttering all of the negativity out of our brain. And it could be negativity that's in our mind, right? But it could also be negativity in our space. Maybe there are some people that are just more negative, and we need to just release them because they are not bringing us joy to our hearts. They're doing more harm than good. And I know some situations you're not able to release people, if you're in a marriage or a divorce, you're not going to be able to release things, but it's your mental capacity. What can you release from your mental state? And then really just trying not to stay stuck in these thought patterns and allowing this clutter to just kind of keep happening, keep accumulating, right? We just want to have that clear path. So, what does that look like? Is that your mental space of clearing out our negativity, the overwhelm, rewiring it and restating it in a way that's more positive? So then that way we can change the trajectory and the path that we're on and go a totally different way that is going to be more beneficial for us in the future, probably near future, right? And then in the long-term future. So again, you are going to want to join us because Denise is going to say that so much better. And she is going to share all of that with you in that Facebook group. So remember, join the Minimalist Game, Releasing Life Clutter to Allow Deeper Fulfillment. And you're going to hear so much more from each of these ladies. And I didn't tell you, there are chances to win prizes. So not only are you going to be able to release and declutter things mentally, physically, even digitally, but you're also going to have the opportunity to win prizes, hang out with us, and have that mental clarity, that peace, that freedom, mental, physical, digitally, all of that freedom, right? When we're releasing all of these things. So you want to join us for sure. So to wrap up, just real quick here, I just want you to think about what can you declutter this season before the holidays? Identifying those areas that drive you crazy and need decluttered. Set up your system. What system works best? Is it 3 baskets? Is it 3 boxes? Is it 3 spaces where you know exactly where I'm going to put the trash, the donate pile, and the put away pile? And then release those things that don't serve you anymore. Could it be useful and beneficial for someone else? Maybe it's time to let it go. And then remember, clearing that mental and digital clutter is going to help for more clarity overall. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, follow on social media, and share this with a friend that needs some decluttering strategies. Also, be sure to join us in that Educating Kids, Connecting Families Facebook group and share your biggest takeaways today. Are you going to start decluttering? What are you going to start on first? I would love to know what you're going to do this season. And don't forget, join that private Facebook group too for the Minimalist Game so you can get even more tips and tricks to release the life clutter this holiday season and all year long. Let's continue to connect and build a supportive community for you and for the moms around the world. Lastly, as we are closing out the first year of podcasting, which is so exciting. I have so many amazing and new things for next year, and I would love to know how I can support you, how I can record episodes that are beneficial for where you are in your journey, whether that's homeschooling, whether that's as a mom, a mompreneur, a stay-at-home mom, a working mom, wherever you're at on your journey. I would be happy to help you out. So please be sure to reach out to me directly and share what you're looking for in this season. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Educating Kids and Connecting Families podcast. I appreciate your support and cherish each and every listener. If you found value in this episode, download it, share with a friend, or leave a review. If you're interested in even more resources for you, activities for your kids, and connection, I encourage you to join our exclusive community, Educating Kids and Connecting Families with Christine Furman on Facebook. You can find the link and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. I'm looking forward to connecting with you and supporting your family.